Have you ever wondered about fate? Are we just stuck with the hand we're dealt? Or can who we are on the inside, our character, our choices, actually change things? Well, we're going to explore that exact question through this incredible ancient story about a man whose whole life hung on that very answer. So, which one wins out? The circumstances you're born into, or the kind of person you choose to be? That's the question at the very heart of this story. And for our main character, a young scholar named Li Qing, this isn't just some philosophical debate. It's his reality. All right, so first up, let's dive into Lu Qing's situation. And, to say things were bad, well, that's putting it mildly. Okay, so this is the real puzzle of Li Cheng's life. On one hand, he was brilliant. We're talking the most talented scholar for 100 miles around. But on the other, despite all that knowledge, nobody noticed. He was a complete unknown. A classic case of a genius just going to waste. Three times he sat for the imperial exams, and these were the biggest, most important tests of his entire life. And 3 times, after pouring everything he had into studying, he failed. And get this, each time it was by a single gut-wrenching point. You can just feel his hope and his money just draining away with each failure. And you think, okay, it can't get any worse, right? Wrong. As if the failures weren't bad enough, fate had one more punch to throw. A massive storm rips through his village, his house collapses, and all of his precious books are soaked and ruined. He was left with literally nothing. This was his reality. This was his bad fate in action. Okay, but this is where things get really interesting. We've seen how awful his circumstances were, his bad fate. But now, let's look at the man himself. What was he really like on the inside? So after that devastating storm, this was it. This was everything Li Qing had left in the entire world. Just a few silver coins. I mean, we're talking barely enough to not starve. You can just imagine the desperation he must have been feeling. So picture this. He's at rock bottom. And that's when he hears about this old woman, Wang Papo, in a nearby village. She's sick, all alone, and can't afford a doctor. I mean, this is the ultimate test, right? What do you do when you have next to nothing and you find someone who has even less? And what he does next is just incredible. He takes most of those last few coins, his survival money, and sends it to pay for her medicine. All because he believed in this one simple idea, that saving a life is the lamp that illuminates the darkness. He knew that even when things seem hopeless, kindness is a light that can change everything. Now, you'd think that would be it, right? The ultimate test of his character. But no. Fate had another, even tougher trial waiting for him, and it came on a freezing winter night. So just imagine the scene. It's the dead of winter, a full-on blizzard is raging, the wind is howling, and snow is piling up everywhere. Li Chang is huddled in his wrecked hut, trying to make a few pennies copying texts, when he hears something outside. A faint moan. He runs outside and finds this man, who looks wealthy, collapsed in the snow, and bleeding pretty badly. He needs medicine, expensive medicine, and Li Chang has no money. All he has is his family's jade pendant. And we have to be clear, this wasn't just some trinket. This was everything. It was his family's only heirloom, his last physical connection to his parents. It was his history, his honor. And what does he do? He sells it. Just like that. Sells this incredibly precious heirloom to buy medicine for a total stranger. And not only that, he then nurses the man back to health for 2 whole weeks, sharing the tiny bit of food he had for himself. And that one act, that one moment of pure, selfless kindness, well, that changes everything. It's the moment his good heart goes head-to-head with his bad fate. Okay, so what follows is this amazing chain reaction. First, the rescue. Turns out the guy he saved is this super powerful silk merchant named Li Yi. Second, the reward. The merchant is so moved by what Li Chang did that he adopts him. He makes him his son. Third, the opportunity. Suddenly, Li Chang has the money and stability to just study. No more worrying about where his next meal is coming from. And fourth, well, that's success. So with all this support, Li Cheng's genius is finally unleashed. He goes back, takes those imperial exams again, and this time, he doesn't just pass. He crushes it. He becomes the Zhuangyuan, the #1 scholar in the entire empire. I mean, you can't get any higher than that. His fate has done a complete 180. But here's the real question, right? The story can't just end there. After all that success, all that power and money, did it change him? Was he still the same good person? Not even a little bit. The very first thing he does is go straight back to his hometown. He uses his new wealth to fix the roads and the schoolhouse. Then he sets up scholarships so that other smart, poor students would never have to go through what he went through. And what about Wang Popo, the old woman he saved with his last coins? He brings her to the capital to live with him, and he personally takes care of her for the rest of her days. And all of this really boils down to the core lesson of the story, which is summed up perfectly in this old proverb. The idea is that if you have a good heart, even a terrible fate can be turned around. What looks like a disaster can actually become your greatest blessing. So that brings us back to our original question, but maybe we see it a little differently now. Li Cheng's story really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the real way to measure a successful life? Is it about the titles you get or the good that you do? Is it about how much you have or how much you give? Definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.